Me today, Carmen Azara Delport here, multidimensional healer, spiritual therapist, channel, and soul alchemist. Today I want to talk about what is the divine feminine. As a therapist, a healer, I think it's very important for us to distinguish what is a divine feminine. So this video today is about the divine feminine. I will make another one about the divine masculine. I'm going to talk about how the divine feminine became wounded and suppressed. There's many ways over thousands of years. I'm going to talk about the distorted or inverted divine feminine, the shadow expressions of the wounded feminine, and healing and awakening the divine feminine within us. We're going to also look at restoring balance between the feminine and masculine. So I have created meditation transmissions for divine feminine masculine here on my YouTube channel, and it's also my Patreon community, where you can receive the healing and go through the process of healing those wounds that removes you from being a divine feminine. Okay, so as men and women, we all have the divine feminine within us. We all have a wounded feminine. We all have an inverted feminine. Okay, so this video is important for every single one of us on the healing journey, on the self-awareness journey. If you are trying to be the best version of yourself, being a human being that is fully present and knowing who you truly are, we need to work through the wounds of the divine feminine and also the wounds of the divine masculine. But today we're focusing on the divine feminine only, okay? Because there's so much here to work through and to share with you, just to make you realize how it is in every single one of us and the different ways it can feel in us and the different ways we express it. So find yourself a moment that you can just sit back and relax and just receive this information. So restoring the sacred feminine within ourselves. The divine feminine is awakening. That's why we are talking about it. But what does it really mean? The divine feminine is not about women only. She is not gender specific. See, it's a universal frequency of consciousness that exists within every human being, women and men. The consciousness of the earth is Mother Earth. It's feminine. The consciousness of the sun, masculine. It's hot, it's fiery, okay? The moon is feminine, it's soft, it's gentle, but bright, okay? And so everything has a frequency of the feminine and the masculine, okay? The divine feminine represents the part of us, of creation, that is receiving, nurturing, can feel. If you tap into your heart and you're feeling, that's the divine feminine. She's aware of her feelings. It's a creative energy. It's whenever we are creating something, that is the feminine. The feminine connects. It's connection, person to person, person to animal. It's connection. Okay, and it allows life to emerge. It allows life. Okay, the divine feminine is the womb of connection. It's a space where we create from. The womb of connection is like the Egyptian Ankh. She is the energy that holds the mystery within, to be before it's born. It is that space, that womb space, that space we go into when we are creating and we're allowing something emerge. It's a birthing process. It's like a baby being growing inside, okay? She is the stillness, the beingness before movement, before action. She is intuition, so connecting with your intuition, compassion, wisdom, creativity, emotional intelligence, and the deep knowing that comes from within. Just want to point out again, wisdom. Okay? The Divine Feminine reminds us that we are not only what we are doing, but we are who we are being. We are who we feel. We are who we receive or how we receive. We are how we experience and how we create. She teaches us that life is not only about achieving and being productive. No, it is about presence. It is about connection. It's about remembering that we are part of the whole, of the cosmos, the planet, of the earth. We are part of the cycles of life, the greater web of existence that we are a part of. We are not separate from it. We are part of it. The essence of the Divine Feminine. The Divine Feminine expresses through intuition over constant analysis. When the mind is overactive, analyzing, that is a masculine quality. The feminine comes into the body, into the intuition, into the senses, and receive the guidance, receive the knowingness. The Divine Feminine, the essence is being over always doing. Cycles over linear force. Feeling over suppression. Creation through surrender rather than control. Wisdom of the body and connection to the earth. Now I think here we already have a pretty good idea of how beautiful the Divine Feminine is, how supportive she is, and how compassionate she is, yet strong, okay? She carries the qualities of compassion, love, beauty, harmony, wisdom, justice. Interesting. Justice is Mahat, the Egyptian goddess Ma'at that I work with. Creativity, sensuality, emotional truth. So understanding your emotions, feeling your emotions, deep listening to self and other, and the healing energy, okay? The Divine Feminine is love in action. She's not love in passivity, in non-action. No, she's love in action. She's a force that allows old structures. This is where we are now at this moment. We are allowing old structures to dissolve. That's the Divine Feminine. And new realities to be created from the womb space of the Divine Feminine. Okay. The suppression of the Divine Feminine, well, through thousands of years, like something like 2000 BC, humanity moved away from a more feminine-centered consciousness into systems. It became systems based increasingly on control, hierarchy, conquest, and domination. All very harsh, hard energies. Power over, control over. The rise of patriarchal structures created an imbalance where masculine qualities such as logic, achievement, structure, and action became valued far more than the feminine qualities such as intuition, emotion, receptivity, listening, and connection. But the problem was never the divine masculine. Let's not confuse this at all, okay? The divine masculine is equally as sacred as the divine feminine. Yes, it is. The healthy masculine brings protection, clarity, direction, presence, stability, conscious action. Okay, so conscious protection, conscious direction, conscious presence, and conscious action. The imbalance came when masculine energy became disconnected from the heart. Let's ignore the heart. Let's not listen to the heart. The heart is just an organ. We now know with all the scientific research, especially from the Heart Math Institute, that the heart has an even larger brain than the brain. And the influence of the heart is something like 5 meters around the body. Okay? So in order for power to dominate, we had to let go of the heart. In order for structures to control, we have to let go of intuition, divine guidance. When achievement became more important than connection, we have to let go of emotions, feelings, and love. The deepest wound was not just against women. It was against the body, our physical bodies. Something very important happened collectively a long, long time ago. Humanity slowly began to disconnect from their own inner knowing, like not trusting their own guidance, having to trust something from the outside, being told what to do, becoming easier and easier to control as we less and less believed in our own inner knowing. The feminine has always been associated with emotion, intuition, nature, cycle, sexuality, and mystery. As these were increasingly viewed as things that we don't want, as things that's in our way, things we need to control, things we need to distrust, the message became clearer and louder and more imprinted in our collective consciousness that logic is superior to intuition. Yet if we look back at hundreds of thousands of years, everything was intuition. Everything they knew, from astrology, from when to hunt and where to hunt, was all intuition. Achievement is more valuable than presence. We don't have time to be with each other. We need to achieve. We need to be doing. And don't feel your emotions. That's a weakness. You will fail if you listen to your emotions. This created a very deep collective wound. Very deep. For a very, very long time, we've learned to shut down our emotions, shut down our own inner guidance, and shut down who we truly are. The wounded divine feminine. The wounded feminine is a feminine energy that has experienced rejection, so many of us, suppression, trauma, and disconnection. This is almost all human beings. The wounded feminine may carry ancestral wounds. It does. Okay. Many of my clients that we work with these ancestral wounds. That is where the feminine has been controlled, abused, neglected, outcasted. Okay. The wounded feminine may show up as overgiving, giving endlessly to others while abandoning herself. I think we all know someone like that. That's always giving, just to fill a void and to feel needed. People pleasing, seeking love and validation through being needed. So this is a wounded feminine, okay? Losing boundaries, believing that being loved means allowing everything. Suppressed emotions, holding pain inside because expressing feelings never felt safe. There was never time to express them. Maybe the parents were too busy. Maybe the parents was just too in their own wounds. Fear of being seen. When we have fear of being seen, we hide parts of ourselves. We don't speak up. We don't create what we truly want to create. We don't share what we truly want to share. We don't trust our intuition. Victim consciousness. As a wounded feminine is feeling powerless and disconnected from her own creative force. The wounded feminine says, who am I to shine? Who am I? Who am I to speak? Maybe my intuition is wrong. I don't trust it. Maybe I am too much of whatever. So I think we can all, every single one of us, men and women, recognize an aspect of the wounded feminine inside of us. Then we have the distorted or inverted divine feminine. When feminine energy is disconnected from love, disconnected from wisdom, it can become distorted. So it's all mind. Okay. The inverted feminine is not the true divine feminine. She might pretend to be. She might even think she is, or he is. It is the wounded feminine seeking power through unconscious means. I'm going to go really into this because I think this is important to recognize, because this is something that I see a lot. I see this quite often. And remember, you can be little bits of everything, right? And that's why I want to go through it, because you might realize, oh, I'm like that. So this is a shadow side of myself that I need to pay attention to. Okay, this is not to shame, this is not to guilt, this is to help you understand yourself better. And through understanding ourselves better, we can do the work. Okay? So the inverted feminine can appear as passive aggression, avoiding responsibility, creating chaos instead of harmony, seeking attention instead of authentic connection, staying in victim mode instead of reclaiming your power, manipulation through emotion, emotional control, and using vulnerability as a weapon. The distorted feminine may say, I will control through my emotions because I do not feel safe. I will manipulate because I do not trust. I will create drama because I've forgotten my own power. The distorted feminine is not the true divine feminine. It is what happens when the feminine has been wounded deeply, feels unsafe, disconnected from her own truth, or believes she has no direct power because she's been suppressed, hurt, manipulated, controlled. outcasted for thousands of years. Instead of expressing her truth openly, the distorted or inverted feminine may seek indirect ways to influence, to control, or protect herself. So one of the ways the distorted feminine plays out, I want to give you some examples about emotional manipulation. Instead of communicating honestly, she uses emotions to influence others. How? Crying to avoid taking responsibility, rather than expressing genuine emotions, because maybe she can't even access her genuine emotions, or he. Giving the silent treatment to make someone feel guilty. Withdrawing affection until someone gives her what she wants. You see this sometimes in parents as well. Saying, if you really loved me, you would do whatever to pressure another person into doing something. A healed feminine will say, this is how I feel and this is what I need. Okay? Or I need something like whatever. The inverted feminine playing the victim, rather than stepping into her power, she remains identified with her wounds. Now remember, these are shadow parts, these are unconscious wounds. Maybe they've become conscious, but she doesn't know how to move through them. So how does that play out? Blaming everyone else for her unhappiness. Blaming everyone else for whatever is happening. Refusing to take responsibility for her choices. So asking others to make a decision for her. Or just let things be because the universe will make a decision. Repeating the same painful patterns while believing she's powerless to change them. And this is so many of us do this. Expecting others to rescue or fix her life. We see this a lot lately. The healed feminine recognizes her pain, but also embraces her ability to heal and choose differently. It's a process. This is a long healing journey. It's a process, okay? Another way the inverted feminine show up is passive aggression. Instead of speaking directly, communicating directly, she's saying, I'm fine, when she clearly isn't. This is a very feminine trait. Women really do this now. Making sarcastic comments instead of expressing the hurt. And this becomes a way of living. We don't even realize we're doing this, right? Withholding information or affection to punish someone. Expecting others to read her mind. This is all very normal from individuals that's been traumatized. Okay, as a trauma therapist, I work with this all the time. This is normal. Okay, it is not to, like I say, it's not to say you are wrong. This is normal. We are trying to heal, we are trying to create a new world where everybody is stepping into the true version of self, which is balancing the divine masculine and the divine feminine within every one of us. Okay, so again, I do have meditations here on YouTube, divine masculine feminine meditations, to help you on this journey. or you're welcome to work with me or someone else. Seeking validation instead of self-worth. The inverted feminine, her sense of value comes from external approval, constantly needing reassurance, changing herself to be accepted, seeking attention to feel worthy, competing with other women instead of celebrating them. The healed feminine knows my worth is inherent. I don't need to earn it. Just by being yourself, you are worthy. Using seduction as power. The inverted feminine or the distorted feminine, when disconnected from her own power, she relies on charm or sexuality to gain influence. Example, flirting to get special treatment without genuine interest. Using attractiveness to manipulate outcomes, using a specific way to dress, a specific way to act, to manipulate outcomes. The divine feminine honors her sensuality as sacred and authentic, not as a tool to control. The distorted feminine creates drama. Chaos becomes a substitute for connection, for intimacy. Picking fights to gain attention. Escalating situations instead of resolving them. Feeling uncomfortable when life is peaceful because conflict feels familiar. And this last one is so common. I see it all the time. The healed feminine creates harmony rather than conflict, creates it. It's not submissive, creates it. The distorted feminine as expressed in martyrdom. She keeps giving until she's exhausted, then resents others for not recognizing her sacrifices. Never asking for help, saying yes when she wants to say no. Feeling unappreciated but continuing the same pattern over and over. Believing her value comes from self-sacrifice. The divine feminine understands that receiving is just as sacred as giving. Collectively, we are all learning to receive. Okay? We're all learning to receive in different ways. Distorted feminine gossips and undermine. Instead of addressing conflict directly, she damages relationships indirectly through speaking negatively about others rather than speaking to them, because she doesn't know how to communicate. Creating division within a group, using secrets or rumors to reduce another person's standing, feeling threatened by another woman's gifts and trying to diminish them. The healed feminine celebrates other women because she knows another woman's light and presence does not diminish her own. We are all beautiful and unique. Manipulating through intuition or spirituality, and I see this so much as well. In spiritual communities, this can become especially subtle. The distorted feminine claiming, "Spirit told me you're wrong," or "my path is," to avoid dialogue. Using spiritual language to control others. Believing her intuition makes her beyond accountable. Confusing personal projections with divine guidance. This is a very fine line to walk. A healed feminine remains humble, discerning, and open to reflection. A healed feminine knows who she is. She doesn't have to project. She doesn't have to control. She doesn't have to manipulate. She can just be herself. Whether it's introvert, extrovert, whether it is whichever form she comes in or he comes in. They're doing it, living from the heart of love, a healed heart. The deep truth. At the heart of the distorted feminine, in the end of the day, it is fear. Fear of not being loved. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of not being enough because she doesn't yet feel safe in her own power. Or she doesn't know how to step into her own power because she's been shut down. She reaches for indirect ways to meet her needs. But the divine feminine doesn't need to manipulate, no. She knows her worth. She speaks her truth with love. She honors her boundaries. And she trusts that what is meant for her does not need to be controlled. Okay? This is a very interesting topic. I'm not going to get into now about control, discernment, containment, but just have a think about that. The wounded feminine often suffers these patterns unconsciously, like I say, and feels overwhelmed by them and doesn't know where to start. Where do I begin healing? How do I move these energies? The distorted or inverted feminine begins to use these patterns habitually as a way to gain influence, avoid responsibility, or control outcomes. So very different the two. The one consciously wants to control, and the other, the wounded feminine, she knows she is suffering and she wants to do something about it and she feels overwhelmed by it. The shadow of the feminine and the masculine imbalance. When the feminine is wounded, she may fear the masculine. Okay? When the masculine is wounded, he may fear the feminine. That's a bit of a dilemma, isn't it? The wounded feminine may see structure as control. The wounded masculine may see emotion as weakness. Don't be so over emotional. Don't be so ruled by your emotions. But way back in time, they were never enemies. No. The masculine and feminine were designed to work together. Yin and yang. The divine feminine brings the vision, the dream, the intuition, the feeling, the creation. The divine masculine brings direction, the action, the structure, the embodiment. Together, they create the future. So now we are at the period of the return of the divine feminine. That's where we are. The awakening of the divine feminine is not about replacing the masculine, no. It is about restoring the balance. This is where I work with the Egyptian goddess Ma'at, the goddess of balance. It is about remembering the wisdom that was always there. The divine feminine is returning through, right? Divine feminine is returning through various ways, through healing trauma, reconnecting with the physical body, honoring our emotions, trusting our intuition. And allowing the space for creativity to flow and living from the heart. The heart math teachings beautifully demonstrate the importance of reconnecting with the heart center. Moving from survival consciousness into coherence, compassion, and connection. Okay? The heart is where the feminine and the masculine meets. So how do we actually take steps to heal the divine feminine within us? Feel the emotions that were never allowed to be felt, that were never allowed to move. The pain we suppress stays within the physical body, in our cells, and it stays in the collective consciousness. The wounds of generations, ancestral trauma, and experiences of suffering needs to be acknowledged, witnessed, and energetically healed as well. We heal by allowing the emotions to flow, to honor them. So ask yourself, what pain am I carrying that is not only mine? What emotions have I been afraid to feel? We all have those. Then we can feel into how can these emotions, these memories, become creativity, compassion, wisdom, or healing. We are healing the divine feminine through reconnecting with the physical body. The divine feminine lives through embodiment. So we slow down, we slow our movements down. We listen to ourselves and others. We feel. Create safety within your body. So simple ways we can connect with the body is walking in nature, just spending time in nature. Conscious breathing, meditation, dancing, gentle movement, resting without guilt, feeling your senses. We can heal divine feminine through awakening sensuality. Sensuality is not performance. It's not performance. Sensuality is being alive. It is feeling the warmth of the sunlight. It's tasting the food. It's feeling the softness of the fabric against your skin. It's enjoying the beauty of the flowers. It's the feeling of being present in your own body. We restore healthy boundaries, to become the divine feminine. We look at our boundaries and we restore our boundaries. The divine feminine is not endlessly available. She does not abandon herself. She knows. No can be loving to herself and the other. Rest is sacred. Her energy is valuable. Boundaries create the safety where love can flourish. The divine feminine trusts her own inner wisdom. We have been taught for generations to distrust our intuition. But intuition is a form of intelligence that's available to us. So ask yourself, what do you know beyond what can logically be explained? What is my heart telling me? The heart, not the mind, the heart. What truth is asking to be expressed through me? The divine feminine, we are remembering her now because she's never been destroyed. No. She went underground. She lived through the earth, Mother Gaia. She lived through the moon. She lived through the body, the mystics, the artists, the healers, the dreamers, the women and men who continue to listen to the quiet voice within. She waited and waited and waited. And now she's awakening, not to create separation, not to overpower the masculine, but to restore the harmony on this planet we are on. Humanity cannot evolve through control and power over, through these wars. We evolve through love, compassion, listening to each other. We evolve through wisdom, through remembering that creation itself is feminine. We don't have to go and find the divine feminine. It is within us. We need to remember. So I work with the divine feminine archetypes of Mary Magdalene, the Egyptian goddess Isis, Hathor, and a few others as well. But I'm just going to bring us into this beautiful healing presence of Mary Magdalene, Isis, and Hathor. So as we come to the end of this journey, I invite you to close your eyes and connect with divine feminine within your own heart. The divine feminine is not something outside of you that you need to find. She is a wisdom that has always lived within you. C is a part of you that knows, the part of you that feels, the part of you that creates, the part of you that loves beyond fear. For many lifetimes, many generations, the feminine has carried wounds of suppression, rejection, shame, and disconnection. But now we are entering a time of remembrance, a time where we are being called to restore the sacred feminine within ourselves. And as we reconnect with this energy, we can call upon the wisdom and frequency of the great feminine archetypes who have walked this path before us. Mary Magdalene, the Sacred Heart and the Path of Love. We invite the energy of Mary Magdalene, the embodiment of the awakened heart, the feminine wisdom keeper who reminds us that love is not weakness, love is power. Mary Magdalene teaches us the path of devotion, compassion, truth, and spiritual sovereignty. She reminds us you do not need to abandon yourself to love another. True love begins when you remember yourself. Mary Magdalene helps us to heal the wounds of rejection, the fear of being seen, the shame of expressing our truth, the separation between spirituality and the human experience. Through her frequency, we remember that our hearts are sacred. Deep breath. So being present in this beautiful energy of Mary Magdalene. Isis, the Divine Mother, and the power of transformation. We invite the wisdom of Isis, Aset, the great Egyptian mother, the healer, the magician, the mystic, the one who gathered what was broken and restored it through love, devotion, and wisdom. Isis reminds us that nothing is ever lost. What has been fragmented can be healed. What has been wounded can be restored. Isis teaches us the power of rebirth, inner transformation, intuition, divine wisdom, sacred creation. She helps us reclaim the parts of ourselves that we have hidden, rejected, or forgotten. So let's just be in her energy, breathe. Beautiful. Hathor, the frequency of joy, beauty, and sacred sensuality. We invite the loving presence of Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, music, joy, and the sacred expression of life. Hathor reminds us that healing does not only come through facing our wounds. Healing also comes through pleasure, through laughter, through creativity, connection, through allowing ourselves to receive the beauty of being alive. Hathor helps us awaken sensuality without shame, joy without guilt, receiving without feeling undeserving, the ability to celebrate ourselves and life. So breathe and just be in this beautiful presence of Hathor. Returning to the divine feminine within. As these sacred frequencies are around us now, we remember we are allowed to feel, we are allowed to receive, we are allowed to create, and we are allowed to take up space. We are allowed to trust our inner wisdom. We release the ancestral wounds that taught us to shrink. We release the collective pain that taught us sensitivity was weakness. We honor the wisdom within the body. We honor the voice of the heart. We honor the divine feminine that lives within us. May we restore balance within ourselves. May we bring compassion when there is pain. May we bring love where there was fear. May we bring creation where there was suppression. The divine feminine is awakening. She's not returning to fight. She's returning to heal, to balance. She's returning to remind humanity that love, wisdom, and compassion are not weaknesses. They are the foundation, the very foundation of creation. And as the divine feminine is awakening within each and every one of us, we are also invited to heal and awaken the divine masculine, restoring the sacred balance between the heart and the action, between creation and manifestation. So thank you for being here with me in this video, where I've shared with you the divine feminine qualities and how to heal. And I want to point out again that I do have the meditations for you on YouTube, Healing Divine Masculine and Feminine. You're welcome to work one-to-one with me, and I thank you so much for being here. Please do share this video, like it, and may it help you.